Yo, what's going on guys, it's Maffu here, and today I'm going to be giving you a short equipment guide for infantry, archers, and cav. Now I will say as a disclaimer, a very big disclaimer, I've only played infantry and I don't have any of the other gear sets. This is just based off what I've seen and heard, so I may be wrong on the cav and archer sets, but I'm pretty confident in my infantry set. Now this also doesn't include leadership gear, which in some cases might be better than pieces of gear, and I'll go over that a little bit when we get to the archers because that's where I think it makes a big difference. But let's start with the early game infantry set. Now for the early game infantry set, we're going to have windswept helmet and chest plate to get the 2% attack bonus. We'll have the shield, and you want to crit this, so once you get enough blueprints of the shield, you want to keep trying to get it to get the extra 30% special talent bonus. Then we got the Calvin's hands, which it doesn't matter if you're gonna crit it or not, but I think you should crit it because you're gonna be holding on to this piece for a little bit. You got the sentry breeches. I do recommend critting those because it gives you a big bonus, a 2% bonus that is. And you got the Scarlet Hounds, which you should crit as well. Let's get into the mid-game sets. This is what you should be looking at for an infantry player. Maybe a little bit worse than this by KVK1 or in KVK1. In the first egg event that you receive as a new player, you'll be able to get the gold helmet for Eternal Empire. And in the battle pass, when KVK starts, you'll be able to get the Hope Cloak. So that's where you're going to find these two blueprints. For the helmet, you need to save around 46,000 gems, maybe a little bit more to guarantee it. And the Hope Cloak you get with a $5 purchase. Now there's ways to get the Hope Cloak for free, such as the Hammer event or another egg event, but the Hope Cloak is not the most important part. You should be getting the helmet 100%. You can replace this with the Windswept or an infantry breastplate. I'm just going to put the Windswept on because it's slightly better, but it won't matter too much. You also have the Gatekeeper shield still, crit. You get a Seth Brutality, uncrit. Karok's Humility, you need to get that crit. Call of the Loyal, you get this blueprint from the KVK shop. So as soon as you get into KVK, there's going to be a shop in the Lost Canyon where you get tokens and you can buy this blueprint. It's really good. 5% march speed, it's super easy to get. Then the Scarlet Hounds, which are really good boots still. And I recommend getting a Silent Trial. I think it's the best purple accessory that you can get. Let's move on to the next set, which will be the late game. KVK 2 to 3 maybe to get all this. This is what you're looking at. So you still have the helmet, the Hope Cloak, the shield of the Eternal Empire, Vambraces of the Eternal Empire, and the sturdy boots of the Eternal Empire. This will give you a set bonus of 3% and a 10% march speed with those 4 legendaries. The Hope Cloak gives you 12% defense, and you can keep these Karok's Humility into the late game because the Eternal Knight is not much of an upgrade. It still is an upgrade because it's a legendary and you can iconic it, but the Karok's Humility is still really good. Now, what is the order you should get these pieces of gear? I recommend you go helmet, chest plate, boots, gloves, shield. Replace your blue shield last because the blue shield is actually really good. Now, I do have the wind scars on here. It's 3% more movement speed than the flag, but the flag is also fine. You can just keep the Call of the Loyal. The wind scars is not much of an upgrade. So that is it for the infantry. Now I know there's a lot of different things, but I'm going to keep this early game because I actually haven't reached this stuff yet. So I'm going to keep it with what I know, and that is the early game stuff. So if you want a more late game guide, you have to wait for me to get into the late game, or you can search one up. I'm sure there's plenty on YouTube. Let's take a look at the archer set. Now this is what I got from my archers, and it's honestly pretty good for the early game. At least I think so. I say you should crit the green and the sturdy boots because they're pretty easy to get the blueprints. But I would wait on these because you might just be wasting gold because you're going to be upgrading these later anyways. We're going to be upgrading everything, but these are harder to get and cost more gold. But if you have the extra gold around, you could crit it. But gold is very scarce into the late game. You need a lot of it. Next, this is the set you should be looking at when you're entering KVK. One, maybe a piece of legendary in here. I don't know how hard that is to get for archers. If there's one piece of legendary that you should look at, I would say you should go for the boots first, because you still get the revival set. I don't know why it's 2 here, but you get the revival set, which gives you 3% attack, 3% defense, which includes the helmet, chestplate, pants, and gloves. Now the weapon's actually pretty decent, and you usually upgrade the weapon last on sets, so you could crit it if you have the blueprints for it. The archer weapon is actually really good, but weapons you usually build last because they're so expensive to make, so you can get more value out of your materials going for the other pieces first. Oh, I actually didn't know that, but you can see how much materials it is. This doesn't really help you. Like, you're not gonna count all your ebony up and stuff, but let's take a look at the late game archer set, and as you can see, it is a full gold set, but there is a catch. You can get rid of this archer attack gloves, archer attack pants, and switch them for the leadership gloves and leadership pants, because these will replace the attack and give you health. And you miss out on the set bonus, but the set bonus at that point is only 3% extra health, and I think it might be better to go for this, and you can use this piece of gear on any march because it's troop health. This also gives march speed for archers, which is really good. The gloves doesn't really help you with that, but it's still good, and you get a 2-piece bonus of 3% defense instead. I really think that might be worth. Consider that. Instead of going for a full set, you can go for a 4-piece with a two-piece set of leadership gear. Now, I would show it on this website, but I don't see the leadership gear on here, so I just can't show it. Now, for accessories, you might be wondering why I'm not upgrading them to legendary. Legendary accessories are so expensive to make, and it's not really realistic to get them in the early game unless you're a humongous whale. But I'm guessing horn and ring are, if you had the option to, horn and ring, because that's what I see everyone running in Season of Conquest. Let's take a look at the Cav set. Now this will be your early game Cav set, and out of all this gear, you can crit the greens because it's really cheap. I would only crit the helmet because the helmet will be carried on into the next set. I think everything else gets replaced. So in this, you have 2 sets, which gives you an extra 4% bonus, and this is the stats you're looking at. Pretty good for the early game. Let's take a look at the mid going into KVK set. Honestly, your gear should be slightly better than this. If you're a Cav player going into KVK, you should have 1 or 2 legendaries probably. But for an all purple set, this is what you should be looking at. Try to crit the Cav weapon because you can use this into the late game and not upgrade it to the legendary until late. Because the purple weapon crit is actually really good. The helmet also is really good. The legendary helmet is a little bit of an upgrade, but not that much. And I just have the Call of the Loyal and Silent Trial on as default for my gear sets. But I've seen some people run Ancient Stratagems, Troop Capacity, and Silent Trial. I've seen some people run Delane's Amulet. I don't know how good that is. It doesn't sound that good for Cav. Actually, maybe Delane's Amulet and Silent Trial together would be really good. Anyways, this is my early mid game set. And the late game Cav set, you're looking at this. Now, there's a lot of upgrades that can be done to this. Don't get me wrong. I just don't know the right combination of the Wasteland armor or the non-Wasteland armor. So you got Ashadon, which I know are really good pants, but I don't know how good Navarre's control is. 8% health seems pretty good. But I know there's a good set bonus. This will give you have 2 pieces of the Wasteland, so this will give you 3% health, which is really good. So I would say this is a mid-late game build. As for a full legendary for Cav, I guess I could try to figure it out for you right now. Now I know this is a KVK set, so I'm gonna stick to early game, so that's all I know. The helmet looks pretty good, but it's not that much of an upgrade from the blue one. Blue one gives 8% defense, this gives 11. The chest plate looks really good. Now I know the pants aren't amazing, so I'm gonna give the Ashadon. And honestly, the boots look really good. I think go Navarre's control, and then this. I think this might be the best, because you get the Wasteland set up to 4 out of 6, but you're going to have the pants anyway, so you're not going to get the 6 out of 6. And the gloves, I think, are slightly better. The health is better than the defense. So I think this might be the best. And as default, I'm gonna put, yeah, not as default, I'm gonna put the flag in Silent Trial. So maybe this is what you'd be looking at for a late game Cav set. Now, as I've said before, I have not played Cav or Archers, so some of these sets may be a little bit wrong. But I think they give a decent view on what you should be looking at while you're playing the game. You could start with the early game sets, because those are really easy to replace if you mess them up. Even the mid game are really easy to replace. As soon as you start crafting legendary gear, that's when you have to be kind of sure what you want. So maybe do a little bit more research. Obviously, I'm not a professional in this game. I still have a lot to learn. If I got any of these equipment sets wrong, put a comment down below and I will pin it so everyone can see the correct information. That's all for this video. Peace.